I'm DJ Flick. Welcome to Rock Bottom Redemption. There's a question most people never ask themselves honestly, not because they don't care about the answer, but rather because they're afraid of what that answer might be. The question is this: what are you actually chasing, and what do you think it's going to give you when you finally get there? Because most of us are building towards something with a deeper question attached to it. A question about worth, about whether it was worth it all along, about whether we are enough. And most of the things that we're chasing were never designed to answer that question. That's what this month is about. The achievement that didn't quite fill what we thought it would, about the accountability nobody wants to be a part of, about what your past is actually worth if you stop running from it. Every setback's a setup. Let's get into it. I want to start with November 2007. With the Saskatchewan Roughriders, we were fortunate enough to become Grey Cup champions. The training, the sacrifice, the relationships that got less of me than they deserved because the game always came first. My body, I pushed it past limits that I'm still living with today. And underneath all of that, running the whole time was a belief that getting to the top was going to settle something. Not just about my skill, but about my worth. About whether all of it, all the years, all the sacrifice, all the cost had been going somewhere that actually mattered. I had staked more into that than I knew at the time. After the celebration settled, after the clock hit zeros, after the noise, after reaching the pinnacle, I was hoping for so much more. Mostly I realized that whatever I'd been asking the championship to answer, it hadn't. And I was disappointed when I should have felt on top of the world. The question was still there, and now after winning it all, there was nothing left to chase it with. I kept that to myself for a long time because you don't stand in the middle of a championship celebration and say something like that. But I carried it. I'd been asking the achievement to answer a question that it was incapable of answering. Achievement confirms what you did to get there, but it doesn't heal what you haven't dealt with. What was unresolved going into the pursuit is still unresolved when it ends. The championship proved that I could win, that we could win, but it didn't tell me who I was when I wasn't winning. And that's not unique specifically to athletics. Think about that promotion that you worked years for, or the relationship that was supposed to finally mean something. That milestone that was going to be the thing. People get there, and the question's still there. It doesn't mean the goal wasn't important or worthy to pursue. It's just that there are some things that goals can and can't do. They can confirm what you built, but they cannot fill what only something else was meant to fill. So if achievement can't answer the deeper question, then what does? Because most of us are chasing something with a question attached to it, and also the thing that we're chasing was never designed to answer it. I spent years working towards professional football. From 10 years old and on, when asked what I wanted to be when I grow up, I said a professional football player. So when it ended, when the career was over, and the identity I built around the game had nowhere obvious to go, I had to figure out who I was when that version of the scoreboard was unable to confirm it anymore. I didn't have a good answer. So build your identity on who you became in the process, not the outcome. The discipline, the character, the sacrifices that shaped you along the way, the person you had to become to even get there. Those things are yours regardless of whether you win. They stay with you when the season ends. They travel with you to the next thing. They hold up in ways that trophies never could. When the outcome ends, and it will end, the man you are, it's going to keep going. So build that man intentionally, on purpose, before the thing that you've been chasing ends and leaves you standing in the quiet asking who you are without this. Because nobody handed me a document explaining what strength was supposed to look like and how to achieve it. But the message sure came through anyway. Came through with what got rewarded, through what was modeled. And that was always to keep it inside, to handle it yourself, to keep moving regardless of what was going on underneath. Don't let it show. Don't show your weakness. Don't show that you're hurt. I absorbed all that early and built my life around it. In athletics, it looks like toughness. In corrections, it looks like authority. In my professional life, it looked like someone who was constantly delivering no matter what was happening on the inside. And it got reinforced constantly. Nobody questions the fuel when the engine's running, and for years I didn't either. But here's what I didn't see. There is a ceiling on that version of strength. And what's on the other side of that ceiling is not pretty. And I know that because I've been there. That side hit me hard. Experimenting with drugs, a marriage built on years of infidelity, sleeping in my childhood bedroom as an adult. All of that was the ceiling finally showing up. And here's what that version of strength actually is if you look honestly at it. It's carrying weight with no outlet and calling it discipline. And it'll work until it doesn't. But what you're suppressing doesn't stay suppressed indefinitely. It's gotta find somewhere to go. Your body starts to hold it. The people closest to you end up on the receiving end of something they didn't cause. The explosion that seems to come from nowhere but has been building for years. The walls that go up so that even the people who want to reach you can't find a way in. I spent years being someone people could count on professionally while carrying things privately that had no outlet and no release. Essentially, there were two versions of me, and one had very little to do with the other, and the gap between them kept growing. What I eventually had to face is that the version of strength I was projecting wasn't protecting me, it was isolating me. It was making me harder to reach at the exact moments most people need to reach me. The version that actually works looks different. It says the honest thing when the honest thing is hard. It asks for help without treating that as a failure. It lets people close enough to actually know what's going on in my life. That version is harder to live day to day because it requires more from you. But it holds up in ways that the other ones never do. When things kept going wrong in my life, in relationships and situations, across different circumstances with different people, it's natural to look at what's changing between each one, whether it be the setting, the other people involved. What's harder to look at is what's staying the same. And for a long time, I carried real frustrations about many of the situations I found myself in, because sometimes other people played a role in it. That was true. And I used that truth as a reason to not look at what I was bringing to the table. Because as long as somebody else was clearly part of the problem, I had somewhere else to put my attention and say, it wasn't me. So nothing changed. Different situation, different people, same result every time. Because the variable I refused to examine was the one that never changed. My first marriage, situations at work, the distance in relationships across different seasons of my life. All the same result because I was in every single one of those situations. I was the common denominator, and I was the last person I was willing to look at. But both things can be true at the same time. Other people contributed, and so did I. And the question of which one I can actually do something about has a very clear answer. I can't change what other people did. I can't go back and change the circumstances. What I can change starting today is what I'm bringing to the table. My patterns, my contributions, the things that I keep doing across different situations that keep producing the same results. The moment I honestly asked what I was contributing, that simple question caused things to start to move. Because for the first time, I had something that actually worked. I think about what that question would have done if I had asked it earlier. Maybe before the infidelity, before the first marriage ended. Things happen for a reason, and I'm ecstatic at how my life turned out. But the question was always available. I just kept finding other reasons not to ask it. If the same kind of outcome keeps showing up regardless of who else is in the room, that's saying something. It's not a question of your character. It's just something worth examining, honestly. And the sooner you examine it, the sooner you have something you can actually change. The parts of your story you've been trying to leave behind might actually be the most valuable thing you have to offer. If you recall, there's a version of moving forward that I debated. The version that says, the goal is to get as much distance as possible between yourself and where you've been. To put it behind you. Don't let it define you. Focus on where you're going. Parts of that are healthy. Staying buried in shame isn't useful. Letting your past set a ceiling for your future isn't good. But there's a version of it that goes too far. And that treats the hard parts of your story as something to be minimized or left behind as quickly as possible. I don't talk about the hard parts of my story because I enjoy revisiting them. I talk about them because the person in that place right now needs someone who's actually been there and knows the place. Not from studying it, not from observing it from a distance, but from actually living it. And the moment I put so much distance between myself and those experiences, I lose what makes me useful to that person who's still in it. The things I went through, the floors I hit, the damage I caused, the questions I sit with in the dark, those things gave me something I couldn't have gotten any other way. The kind of knowledge that only comes from having actually been inside something. And God used all of it. The gray cup that didn't answer the question. The first marriage that ended. The whisper in my childhood bedroom that said, it's going to get better. You're not alone. None of it was wasted. Not one hard morning. Not one season of getting it wrong. I can see that now in the way I couldn't see it back then. Your history is not a liability. Stop treating your story like something to escape. It's the real reason you have something real to offer. The person who is where you were is waiting for someone who actually knows that place. You already have what you need to start. The achievement, the version of strength, the accountability, and the past are all pointing at the same thing. Most of us are building something, a career, a family, a reputation, a platform, something. And the question underneath all of that building is the same question I was asking when I was celebrating on that field in November 2007. Is this going to be enough? Am I enough? And the honest answer is that nothing you build on the outside is ever going to answer that question. Not the championship, not the title, not the achievement, not the version of strength that never lets anyone see you struggle. The only thing that actually answers that question comes from somewhere else entirely. And most of us don't go looking for it until we've run out of everything else. Well, I ran out of everything else in my childhood bedroom in Pennsylvania. It was in the middle of the night, with no plan, no direction, and nothing left to offer. But something was there anyway. It was before I had done anything to deserve it, before I had changed anything, before I had proven I was going to use it well. But that's where the answer actually lives. Not in what you build, but rather in what finds you when you stop running. So ask yourself what you're actually chasing. Not that surface answer, the real one, the deep one. What question are you asking of the thing that you're looking for? Or what question are you asking of the thing that you're working towards? And ask yourself, that thing you're chasing, was that ever designed to answer the question in the first place? Because if the answer is no, if what you're really asking is whether you're worthy or whether you matter, whether all of it was worth it, then getting there is going to leave you standing exactly where you stood, on the field, with a trophy, waiting for something that isn't coming. And I know what that feels like. I know the specific shape of that quiet after the noise settles. The work that actually changes that is slower. Nobody's watching. There's no scoreboard. But it's the only work that builds something that lasts when everything else goes quiet. And it starts with the question that you've been afraid to ask yourself honestly. Not what am I chasing, but what do I think it's going to give me when I finally get there? That's the deeper answer we seek. But you'll never know if what you're doing is not designed to answer it. Your past is not a weight that you have to carry forever. And it's not something you have to run from either. It's something you learn to use. The man who's been through it, who carried it honestly, who didn't clean it up too much, they have something to offer that the man who walked away clean never will. And somewhere right now, there's a person in that place that you've already been. They don't need your polished version. They need the honest one. They need the one with those rough edges still on it. The one where you didn't have it all figured out. The one where the floor was real and the way up wasn't clear. That's the version that tells them that they're not the only one. That it's survivable. That there's hope. That there's more road than it feels like from the bottom. I know that's true because that's what I was told when I had nothing left. And I know it's also true because I've been able to say that to others since then. So don't clean up your story so much that you lose the thing that makes it useful. And that's the story itself, the real one. It's exactly what somebody needs to hear today. This month was one question asked 4 different ways. What are you actually building towards? And is the way you're living today pointing to that answer? Achievement confirms what you built, but it can't answer what's underneath. The version of strength built on suppression has a ceiling. The honest look at your own patterns is where actual movement begins. And your past, carried honestly, is more valuable than a clean slate ever could be. If something here landed, please pass it on to somebody who needs it. Drop a comment, subscribe, follow, like so you don't miss what's coming next. Your comments will not go unnoticed. Every setback's a setup. God doesn't waste the hard seasons.